here to introduce Sue Lee's amazing book, Transoceanic Lights.
Transoceanic Lights is a story of journeys across countries, through marriages, and most powerfully, through childhood. What drew me to this book was a sense of feeling that rose from Sue Lee's beautiful sentences, palpably from the beginning, and in the ways he depicted with nuance the particular experience of three families immigrating from China to an unnamed city in the US. The child narrator takes us with precision and deep feeling into the experience of these characters. This is a brave book in its faith in the power of messiness, of complexity. It's a necessary and moving addition to the literature of immigration, which is especially important now. And through the specific lens of the experience of these Chinese immigrants and this unnamed narrator, Transoceanic Lights beautifully depicts the path we all take, the road from the nation of childhood.
So I'm going to read a page from chapter 2. So the 5-year-old narrator is sitting in class on the first day of school, and he's mortified because he's got to use the bathroom, but he's too scared to ask for permission. So instead, he sits there and he just daydreams. And I picked this scene particularly because it's a fond personal memory. And also because I think that the awkward scenario of having to really take a piss, but not really knowing how, is a perfect metaphor for the immigrant experience. The sensation in my lower abdomen grew to that of a bloated pain and felt on the verge of bursting. The clock hands lapped nauseating circles as they had done all day, taking their eternal time. Maybe it would pool on the seat, overflow onto the floor, and darken the fabric over my crotch, like the residue of those flowers in my lap. I did not know their names, having fallen overripe with thick, velvety petals. They occupied in my memory a throne of permanence. I remembered the wooden seat my father constructed after hours of sawing and hammering and drilling in the space beneath our balcony where on a certain New Year's Day 1,000,000 paper ballerinas once heaped. The seat was attached to his bicycle, and when he rowed toward Pearl River, I held on over his steering hands and directed him over manholes so I could listen to the echo of their metallic clatter as he pedaled past the shadows of strangers, invisible chirping crickets, empty benches, overflowing garbage cans, and the glow of white bulbs hanging like full moons from poles to drench the pavement in silver puddles. He would remind me of those evening excursions 16 years later when my mother divorced him. When I outgrew the seat the following year, he disassembled it and made a new one, which he fastened to the rear of the bicycle during my 3rd summer when the trees were in bloom, when my mother learned a new recipe for a medicinal broth of assorted herbs, mango pits, and those nameless red-purple flowers. I remembered sitting in the living room on a short stool, the mangoes slick and slippery after my mother peeled off the yellow skin spotted with moles, and greedily burying my teeth into the sweet golden flesh. The honey-thick syrup trailing down the sides of my mouth, fingers and arms, luscious drops that hung for a moment from my chin and elbows before staining the newspapers spread on the floor. The large oblong seeds were collected and pierced and tied with string to coat hangers hung on the balcony to dry. My father and I went to gather the red-purple flowers at the park. Those fallen we picked up. The unfallen he knocked down with a stone tied to the end of a rope, which he twirled above his head, aimed, and released. He put me on his shoulders, and I swirled my wrist like he had taught. It made whooshing sounds, but felt fruitless each time. Next time, he said, when you're older, You'll get it, he said. And after accumulating a bounty deemed sufficient, he pedaled back to the house while I sat in the back, my arms around his waist, a heap of dying flowers covered in soot and embalmed in their own juices, uncomfortably stacked on my lap, staining my crotch with the color of bruised blood that evaporated to turn blue and black, for my mother to scrub off in a tub with brush and soap. How embarrassing it would be if I were to wet myself in this room full of strangers.